Champions Cup round of 16, folks. I have finally caught up on the results, and boy, were there a lot of points scored in this round. Average score, like each game featured, I think, 70 points. If this was Super Rugby, having a round like that, there'd be plenty of comments saying, I guess defence is optional, but bloody hell. I think 2 really cracking games. A couple of games where teams who were expected to get flogged put in better performances than expected. And there were some pretty big margins there as well. Not the best round for the Premiership, with only Northampton going through to the quarterfinals. But we will go through the games pretty quick. You guys can let us know your thoughts. And, how do you think the quarterfinals are going to pan out? Northampton against Clermont. We did a match review for that one. That was the initial game, Friday game, over at Franklin's Gardens. The backs for Northampton certainly unleashed. Freeman bagged a hat-trick. Finn Smith got one. Augustus got a couple for the forwards, and likewise Pollock as well. Potentially pinched one from Freeman, getting a fourth. Looking to play the game at pace. Clermont certainly not helped by injuries. I mean, Fritz Lee going off on a stretcher was pretty bad. Also cards, they had a couple of yellow cards. They still managed 3 tries to Moala Raka and Whainga'a. The Whainga'a one just put a little bit of doubt in the mind that Northampton might be under a bit of pressure, but no, Northampton were able to see that game off pretty quickly. Plenty of taps, plenty of high-pace action from Northampton. So as I said, they are flying the flag for the Premiership clubs with their win. They will be hosting in the quarterfinals, so we'll be looking to go one step further. Toulon and Saracens, 114 points is certainly the highest scoring affair. Saracens were up like 35-13 after half an hour or so, just over. And some pretty soft tries conceded by Toulon. I think you would have to say the halftime score was 35-27, which I think 62 points in it. So there was a lot of points on display from both sides in this game, but the second half in particular, Toulon went on a bit of a rampage. Saracens only managed the 1 try in the second half, whereas Toulon ran in a bundle. Wainingolo got the first one for Toulon. Issa bagged a hat-trick. Jamine a couple. Leonesi got one. Whainganuku got one. Serran, Tuisuvu. So a bunch of tries for Toulon. Juan Martin Gonzalez bagged a couple for Saris. Tompkins, Hartley, Van Sale, and Hatfield got one as well. The second half try for Saris. Saris came under a little bit of criticism for resting a few players. Maybe not much scrutiny as Jake White got last year with the Bulls for doing something similar. But yeah, they scored 42 points, which is more than any losing side managed this week. So there's that, but they also conceded the biggest points total this week in 72. So yeah, if you went to that game, you certainly got your value for money in terms of pure points scored. Villiers got a couple of try assists. No try for himself, though, in this one. Missed tackle count, 34-17. And you can see which side had 34. Theo Dan, though, busted like 9 tackles for Saris. It's a solid effort from him. Issa had 7 for Toulon. So, yeah, very, very high-scoring match. High-scoring as well between Leinster and Quins, but all one way. 62-0 is the biggest margin of defeat this week at Croke Park as well. That place looked to be absolutely pumping as Leinster pumped Harlequins 62-0. I mean, it took 15 minutes for the scoring to open, but when it opened, it opened, and then particularly in the second half. I mean, halftime's only 19-0. I say only because it finishes 62-0, but I mean, Prendergast, McCarthy, and Osborne going in for the 3 first half tries for Leinster, but then Van der Fleer, Ringrose, Sheehan, Rossburn, and then Lowe with a couple. They played some sublime rugby, did Leinster, like mauls, the backs getting into action, the offloads, the bullet passes from Gibson Park, and like Van der Fleer getting himself into space and busting through tacklers like he was a man possessed. 15 line breaks to 1 in that game, 26 offloads to 5. That is a horrendous result for Quins, but yeah, there were a few question marks by some on how Leinster might go in this one. Not really doubt that they would win it. A lot of people were very confident, but some people were saying, maybe some of these guys like Van der Fleer haven't quite got their form from the Six Nations. Well, any doubts about Leinster's potential are pretty much put to bed, I think, with 62 points to nil. Castres and Benetton played out one of the games of the round. I think them and Munster La Rochelle, probably the 2 games of the round, although there were certainly some real loose tries in this one. Very, very loose. Both sides, I think, a little bit guilty of coughing up some pretty soft ball and at times falling off a few tackles. But insane game, which goes down to the wire. This one has a couple of yellow cards. It has a red card. Despite the fact that Castres had to play essentially half the game with a man down, they still managed to keep pushing on. It was 24-22 at halftime to Castres, and they were behind with only a couple of minutes to go. Glasgow got himself yellow carded for a high tackle on 77 minutes, and Castres went ahead and scored. They converted the try for the last minute lead, so proper bonkers try. Like the Brex one was a coast-to-coast one from Benetton. Absolutely phenomenal stuff. The Babio try was also insane. Turnover ball, kick through, offloads, like just pure mentality, that game. That was, I don't know, like the defense coaches won't be that happy with that one. But, I mean, Zuliani won 5 turnovers. Van Verberg had like 18 carries. So both sides had some standout performers. But it's Castres who go through at the end of what was a pretty crazy one, like I mentioned. And then the other game of the round, I think La Rochelle and Munster. I was really tempted to get up and watch this. It was a 4:30 kickoff in the morning for me here in NZ. And I thought, nah, it probably won't live up to that kind of kickoff time for me, but I should have got up. 25-24, crazy game. 3 tries apiece, and a pretty clutch Jack Crowley drop goal essentially keeps Munster, in the hunt for the Champions Cup, because it's only a 1-point scoreline. It was the only points scored by Munster after the Andrew Smith try. It was just that one drop goal to, I don't know, just keep La Rochelle at arm's length, but they got bloody close. And it was almost the perfect start for La Rochelle, but Teddy Thomas, who had a couple of interesting moments in this game, just had a foot in touch in the build-up to that one. Later on, geez, he should have scored. Why did Teddy Thomas cut back in field? He's got the gas to just head out left into the corner. I mean, I know you want to get close to the sticks, but just go left. Left, heaps of space. Could have made it, but he cut back in field and they ended up shutting him down. That was bizarre, but I mean, there were some great tries in this one. The Bottia try, when Munster had an early yellow card, the offload from Saltini for that one for Bottia was cracking. And then the Casey try with Takia Abrams from kick return. That one was a phenomenal one with the support line from Casey. So a couple of real cracking tries, 7 points apiece. La Rochelle got a penalty try and a late one to Boss Moran to kind of make it a grandstanding finish, but Coombs from a charge down on Ihaya West. La Rochelle won't like that one on the review. And then, like I said, Andrew Smith got one when Leeds got a yellow card. They had a 22-10 lead, Munster, but as I said, La Rochelle really pushed back. Tyke Byrne was massive on defence. Turnover, kind of shutting down. Some big La Rochelle play kind of towards the death of the game. Electric finish. It kind of went down to a TMO call. Munster won a penalty to breakdown. They wanted to check if Wycherley had put in a high tackle on Jagu, but they ruled, I think correctly, that he was really bent over in the tackle. So it's a low carry, no penalty conceded, and Munster hang on. So 25-24. Like I mentioned, that drop goal from Crowley, I think it was during the yellow card as well, wasn't it? That was the, I think, the kind of clutch moment which you need your 10 to stand up. And he certainly did that. Glasgow and Leicester. Leicester scored early in that one. Did a full match review for that one too, because it was on at a slightly better time of day for me here in NZ. But Glasgow pretty much put Leicester to the sword. They scored a bunch of tries and could have had a bunch more. Like Leicester had so many last-ditch try-saving tackles. Van Portfleet with an ankle tap. Ollie Hassel-Collins just wrapping up Kyle Staines' arms as he was trying to free the ball. Radwan and Freddie Stewart with kind of big try-saving moments. But I mean, Glasgow still scored 43 points despite all that. So Fenter got a couple, Vailano got a couple, Hastings and Horn as well. But turnovers conceded was 21-14 to Glasgow. Like, that's how much ball they coughed up. If they were a bit more clinical, they honestly could have had a lot more points. Cracknell, Cutter, and Liebenberg got the 3 for Leicester. So, yeah, pretty fun game, but like 45 missed tackles to 14. 15 penalties conceded to 7. 9 line breaks to 3. All these stats are absolutely dominant for Glasgow. And honestly, that scoreline could have been bigger. Genuinely could have been bigger. The 2 games I watched this morning here in NZ, Bordeaux and Ulster, had Toulouse and Sale. Like, although Ulster and Sale lose both these games, I feel like they both kind of put in better efforts than were predicted. Ulster only just scraped into the Champions Cup round of 16. And they were never like in front in this game, but every time they would look dead and buried, they would come back into it just enough to make it interesting. But then Bordeaux would kind of always be... Bordeaux still always had them at arm's length. Like, it was 21-0. Tries through a winger, a prop, and a lock. Peno, Tamiafuna, and Coleman. 3 pretty nice tries. But, like I said, Ulster kind of keep heading back. They had it almost 21-14 at halftime, but for the Burrow try. Right as the kind of clock went into the red. That was kind of unfortunate timing from an Ulster perspective. You know, O'Toole, McCann got those 2 in the first half, and then Timothy got 1, and Ward got a couple, plus 1 chalked off in the second half. But yeah, Lamotte, Rohan Janse van Rensburg also got tries for Bordeaux in the second half. So yeah, just able to keep it comfortable enough. I mean, line breaks is 10-7, which is comfortable without being like some of the other games where it was absolutely horrendously lopsided. So, yeah, I feel like Ulster gave them a pretty good account of themselves in that game. And then Toulouse and Sale. Very much a delayed kickoff with that parachutist getting himself stuck in the stadium roof. That was bizarre. Like the bloody 40 minutes of waiting around as they like put pads and mats and inflatable rugby paraphernalia underneath him in case he fell down. Fire truck driving into the stadium and then getting the cherry picker up to rescue him, having to cut the cords loose, and then the players go through their whole warm-up routine again. Never seen that before, but thankfully the parachutist is okay. Nobody was hurt. You had the mascot running out there to help out and everything, so very bizarre. And also, I think a bit bizarre was the fact that Sale put in a better performance than I think many people would have expected. They were largely predicted to get flogged. I mean, they did lose 38-15 and didn't score any second half points, but they were leading 15-10 at half time, and I don't know that many would have predicted that. I mean, Willis got the first try for Toulouse, which was to be expected, but perfect reply from Sale with Luke James getting his one unconverted, and George Ford, a couple of kicks out on the full were a bit unfortunate, but yeah, Johnny Hill got 1, so 15 points to 10 at half time was, as I said, better than many expected. But Toulouse, they kind of put on, 28 unanswered points in the second half. Roebuck had 1 also denied for a foot and touch, which was also pretty unfortunate, but the TMO caught that one. But yeah, 28 unanswered points. Marchand, Cross, Capuozzo, and Clermont get their tries. Capuozzo went off on a stretcher, which is unfortunate because he was on fire. His footwork and whatnot, he beat 8 defenders, but fingers crossed he's okay. The defenders beaten was 32-11. So, yeah, Toulouse doing what Toulouse do, but they had to really kind of work through the full 80 to put on the scoreline that was potentially kind of expected. How does this leave the quarterfinals? Leinster up against Glasgow, all URC affair. The URC reigning champions against the perennial URC favourites. Leinster will be pretty massive favourites for that one. It's a Friday game. That one's on at a great time for me, Saturday, 7 a.m. That is perfect. The next game's not so much for me personally. You got Bordeaux and Munster, which is another Saturday game. That's my Sunday, 2 a.m. And then Northampton Castres, which is also Saturday, my Sunday, 4:30 a.m. Then the Toulon Toulouse is the latest of the games. It's a Sunday game, which is my Monday, also 2 a.m. So nobody's thinking of poor 2 cents when they're scheduling these fixtures, but wow, a whole bunch of points on display. I'm not sure that's that good a look for the competition that so few of the games were close. But like I said, Ulster and Sale, I think, gave a better account of themselves. The Munster game was a cracker, an upset because they weren't favourites for that one. Likewise, Benetton and Castres was a real arm wrestle. But none of the other games are that close. Like Leicester had their moments, Clermont had their moments, Saracens had their moments, but ultimately don't finish anywhere close to kind of within one score. So, yeah, Champions Cup round of 16. What did you guys think of it? Who is your favourite heading into the final quarters, semis, final? You guys take care, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.